But she's also like just crazy nervous because she hasn't like lay with a man in 21 years. She's also worried about the cleanup afterwards because of all the, walking to the bathroom with your legs tied together because you've got like all the dripping. Use a condom. Use a condom. Like, are you kidding me? Hello, Bravo bosses. This is the Bravo Investigator Podcast. I'm your host, Dana. And today on our TLC Tuesday, we are talking about 90 Day Fiance Before the 90 Days, Season 8, Episode 3, entitled Prepare for Takeoff. So happy Tuesday, everyone. It is the week of Christmas, which again is just so crazy how that creeped up out of nowhere. Now, for me, as a Jewish person, this is normally just a very boring week for me because there's nothing open, right? So I'm like the loneliest little Jew on Christmas. And, this year will be different because I have so much podcasting to do and other work to do. But yeah, it's interesting because other things are closed. You have like no one around. Hanukkah is around the same time, but not exactly. And I didn't spend it with my family because my mom was at one of the Hanukkah events, or the only Hanukkah event my family had. And because we don't speak, I don't go to the events that she attends. So I haven't really done anything for Hanukkah. But to be honest, that was never really something that we were big on anyways. Like, I don't remember doing Hanukkah every year. And I don't remember ever getting like 8 days of gifts or anything like that. I feel like Hanukkah for us was like sporadic almost because quite often a lot of people in our family will be traveling around this time of year anyways, so it wouldn't always work out or pan out. But yeah, it's just a regular week for me basically, aside from being unemployed and doing all of that. But like, I've been applying for so many jobs and I'm flabbergasted that there are so many jobs in my field that are out right now, given just the economy in general and the fact that it's Christmas time. So I just thought that that was kind of crazy. But yeah, I'm applying for jobs like crazy. I have an interview in January for one job. I have a meeting about an internship late January. And then I have another like second level interview next week about a job. So I'm getting excited. I'm getting excited, but at the same time, there's like stuff I need to figure out. Like, I feel like I still need to talk to a recruiter regardless because I'm not sure what I'm supposed to say about a lot of things, like references, for example. I kind of don't have any for the last like 7 years because I left both of my last two jobs not in good standing. So I have like collegial references, like I have friends, but I don't have anyone in like a supervisor capacity who could speak to me, which is a problem, right? For 7 years, that's a problem that I don't have anyone in a supervisory capacity who could speak to my work. Um, and the other problem is the fact that I got fired. Like, what am I supposed to tell them, right? Like, what are you supposed to tell potential employers? Are you supposed to be honest? Are you supposed to lie? Like, what are you supposed to do? I've never been in this situation, right? So for those reasons, I feel like I kind of still need to speak to somebody, but like, I'm not quite sure. So if anyone knows any recruiters or knows anything about that, let me know, because there was this guy in my building who was supposed to help me out with it. He was a recruiter for like 30 years, but then his father died like right around the time that I lost my job. And he said he was going to help me, but I think he's just grieving his father and that kind of thing. And I don't want to bother him right now because obviously he's going through something. So if anyone out there knows about recruiters or how that works, hit me up, let me know. And I just want to remind you guys of the regular schedule for the show. I know I keep repeating it all the time, but I just want to make sure that everybody knows, okay? So Mondays are reality roundup. Those are on video, which you can watch on my new YouTube channel, which is linked in the show notes. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. And then on Tuesdays, like today is TLC Tuesday, and it's an audio only episode, but I am still uploading it to YouTube, so you can just watch the blank screen. And we're doing 90 Day Fiance Before the 90 Days, Season 8. And then on Wednesdays are for my Patreon babies. We are doing Vanderpump Rules from the beginning. So tomorrow will be Vanderpump Rules Season 1, Episode 3. Then on Thursdays, we're doing new Vanderpump Rules and Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. And on Fridays, we're doing Southern Charm and Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Now, this week might be a bit different because it's my understanding that there is no new Salt Lake or Vanderpump tonight. And obviously, I don't think there'll be new shows tomorrow night either. So I guess what I'll do on Thursday instead is Southern Charm and Beverly Hills from last week because I didn't end up getting to that. And then on Friday, I'm going to do dun, 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 Be True Hollywood Story, Kyle Cook, which I'm so excited about. And I really hope I can get it out for Friday. I still have so much research that I'm still doing. Basically, I have to watch Summer House from the beginning because you really need to watch it through a different lens, right? Like that's how I do these things. I may have watched a show a million times, but I wasn't necessarily watching it through the lens of looking at a particular person in particular, which is what I'm doing now. And then I have to listen to every podcast he's ever done. But you guys, like, this guy has like no history prior to being like 34 years old. Like, I cannot find an ex-girlfriend, anything. Like, did you never piss anyone off in life, right? Like, did you never get in a fight with someone? Like, this guy has like no internet history prior to being 34. It's wild, right? It's like he appeared out of fucking nowhere. But I am trying and I'm working on it and I'm really excited. So that's coming up this week. So yeah, despite the holidays, don't worry about it. There's lots on the agenda in terms of shows that I am getting out for you guys. But I'm really happy that today's episode is not on video because my skin is so bad. Like, it's one of those days where I'm just like in pain. Like, it's been painful all week. I've been trying to do some UGC stuff, which I haven't been able to do because I can't record myself on video because I look like shit. And while I'm good with makeup, it's like when you're recording these UGC videos, you're recording them in the highest definition. You're trying to show a product. And if I like up close with like that sort of definition, like, no, it doesn't look that good, right? So like, I don't know. I've just sort of wanted to like have a few days of like not wearing any makeup and just letting it heal, which has been one nice benefit of not having a job. Because at my old job, we were literally having like video meetings daily, and it was just like really stressful on my skin and my soul. Okay, was there anything else I wanted to tell you guys? Well, I guess I just wanted to tell you guys about 90 Day Fiance. I kind of want to like apologize for the last two episodes. I feel like I'm struggling to figure out how to recap this show because my show is typically like my show in general, this podcast is typically like a deep like psychological analysis of like characters and themes and things like that. And 90 Day Fiance is just so silly. So you can't really treat it that way because it isn't serious, right? So what I've noticed is that the majority of podcasts that do cover this show cover it in a comedic way, you know, where they're doing impressions or giving these people silly names. And I feel like that's where I need to go because I feel like that's the only way to go with this show is what I mean, to treat it in a more of a comedic aspect. That being said, I've never done that before with the podcast. So, you know, give me some time and let me go through some learning pains. But I'm telling you guys, it is like wildly different doing this show than all of our other Bravo shows. And I guess it's the way that I've been doing it. I mean, there's lots of people who do the Bravo shows in the silly way, like Ryan Bailey, but like, that just wasn't my jam, right? Like I want to have like deep, thoughtful, nuanced conversations, but you just can't do that with 90 Day because it is so trivial and silly and ridiculous and fake. So with all that being said, maybe I'm being too hard on myself. Maybe those last two episodes weren't that bad, but I'm just going to try maybe like a bit of a different approach with it. So bear with me. All right, so we're on episode 3. Let's start with Laura and Birkin. I feel like some other podcasters are calling him Beer Can, and I'm going to have trouble not calling him Beer Can. Maybe we can call him Beer Can. I just feel like that's rude and mean. That's not how you pronounce his name. Now, I love Laura. I was so excited that she was back in this episode. I was talking with Amy Archer last week from Little Miss Recap when I had her on that, like, she just seems like too mature for this and too like together for this because like I said, 90 Day Fiance is for the silly. It is for, you know, it is for people who like don't really have their shit together. I don't know how else to explain it, right? Like you don't typically have people on this show who have their shit together, who are intelligent. Oh, I hate even saying that, right? You don't have maybe like the most upper crust of people. And Laura just is. And I just think she's so sweet and lovely. And I wonder why she's really doing this because, you know, we've been talking about this for the past few weeks. She's clearly meant to be with Michael. We know this story is going to be the story of Laura and Michael and not the story of Laura and Birkin. But she just seems too smart of a person to be going this route. So it's sort of hard to root her on, but I root her on as a person because I just think she's so cute. So she's leaving for Turkey today. She's never really been anywhere. She's never been across the continent. She's really nervous. And so she talks about how she gave Michael the opportunity to tell her how he feels, and he didn't. So she just wants something real with someone else. And I understand that, right? We had that whole scene where she's basically like, man up and say if you want to be with me. And he broke down and he didn't do that, right? And I'm really surprised because he knew she was leaving. He knew that this was really going to be his last chance. I mean, it's clear this guy needs a lot of therapy. Like, I understand that he's struggling with this birth defect and how he feels like people are constantly rejecting him. So he rejects them first. But it's clear that Laura is the love of his life. Like, there couldn't be anything more obvious. So it's just really sad to me that he might be willing to pass this up. And it's just so clear that he doesn't have enough trust in himself or confidence in himself to make the best decision for himself. He's really letting the love of his life get away, right? It's really, really sad. But the story isn't about Michael, right? So Laura feels like she might have to choose between her best friend and the possible love of her life. And it's true, right? Because, despite the fact that Birkin is from like a Muslim country, and so he is going to be like more, conservative when it comes to like gender roles and like being friends with men, there isn't many men, even in like modern day, even in like, you know, our neck of the woods, that would be okay with a friendship like Michael's and Laura's, right? Like, fair enough, right? That's a difficult one. So we meet Laura's parents who offer to take her to the airport, and these people are very old school. I mean, we've seen people like this before on this show. These people are very conservative and Catholic. And so to them, Birkin is not ideal to them because he's Muslim and they hate that. So it has caused somewhat of a strain on their relationship. Her mom is like, I never thought it would be possible for you to go to Turkey to meet a Muslim guy you've never met. And Laura admits that she has the same concerns, like including the age difference, which is 20 years. And her mom is like, he just wants a ticket to America. Her mom's like, it's a red flag that he said, I love you because you've never met him. Now, that part isn't necessarily true, right? Because like lots of people do, not just 90 Day Fiance, but lots of people do meet online. And for some reason, maybe don't get to meet for a long period of time. I mean, it's not as crazy anymore to tell someone that you love them over the internet. So that part I don't agree with. But yeah, these parents are not great. I mean, you hear her mom say that she wants to support her, which is nice. But yeah, these parents sort of remind me of how my parents were when I was younger, with the whole like being disgusted by the fact that I would go out with somebody who wasn't Jewish. And they would think something like this is completely ridiculous. Right. And at the same time, it's hard not to sort of agree with them when it comes to the age thing and when it comes to the fact that they've never met. The idea that he's Muslim is ridiculous, obviously. These people are very just like conservative and old school. I mean, that obviously bothers me. I don't like that they're saying that, but it's sort of like expected when you're speaking to an older generation like that, I guess. So then we do get to meet Birkin, and he is not what I thought, because this was a 26-year-old guy, right? And he is actually quite mature. He's into philosophy and Nietzsche, and he was actually training to become a professional football player, but then he crushed his ACL. So that's when he got into reading. And, it's interesting because he's sort of like an old soul, and he's not the typical 26-year-olds that we see in general / on these shows. So I mean, even meeting him for a few minutes, it really didn't feel like the age difference would be a factor. He says that finding Laura is what helped him the most. And he has this sit down with his friends who question him on Laura's age. And Birkin flat out tells the camera, she's old. She's old. Yeah. But he's like, but I'm attracted to older women, and Laura looks good for her age. Here's the thing. She does look good for her age. I think she's so cute, but she looks like she's using a lot of filters, right? And it's like, this really reminds me of Rebecca and Zied from like so many years ago. That woman put on so many filters, like it was wild. He never seemed that put off by it when he met her in person. He didn't seem to notice that it was almost a completely different person. But like, I understand being compelled to like want to look your best in the photos that you're sending to someone that you like. But at the same time, there is no point in being not realistic. Like there isn't, because they're going to meet you in person. And I'm sorry, it's ridiculous to ever think that. And I mean, in like major ways, right? Like there's no point in changing yourself in major ways, because there's no point in thinking that someone's going to fall so in love with you, they're going to ignore all of that, right? Like that's not the way to go into things and think about it. Now I'm going to tell you guys a story, which is going to make me sound kind of bad. Tell you the story anyway. So I met this guy online. I didn't really want to go out with him just because I was so over like going on all these bad dates or whatever. So I show up. And I always show up first because that's just what I do. Because, like, despite the fact that you're looking at pictures of someone online, like, you never really know what they're going to look like. So I sit down at a table and I'm like looking down at my phone so that they have to approach me. So he approaches me, and all I saw was like a quick limp because, like, I was sitting down already. So I looked up and I just saw this limp. And I said, "Oh, are you okay?" to the guy. And he was like, "Yeah, I have, was it MS? I think that he had MS. Is it MS or epilepsy? Oh God, I don't even remember the condition. I'm so sorry. Whatever the condition is, it doesn't really matter. It caused him to have like an extensive limp or basically like paralysis on part of his body. Oh, the kid from Breaking Bad had this same condition. I don't remember what it's called, but whatever. But he didn't tell me about it. And, you know, I noticed when he was walking through the restaurant that people were like really looking at him and questioning, like, you know, if he was okay and that kind of thing. And for me, I was just sort of like, you know, I don't even know this person yet. And we hadn't like built this, like I said, like this insane connection, right? Because I'm sorry, but it's a lot for me to make a decision of whether I'm going to decide right now to take on something this heavy, right? It would be different if I had met him like earlier in life and we were friends, or we had met earlier in life and he was in an accident or something like that. But I met him at this point and I had to decide whether I wanted to take that on in a relationship for somebody that I just met, right? I don't even know if I like this person, right? So yeah, I forgot what was my point on this. I know this makes me sound like so bad. And this was like literally like 15 years ago. I ended up being in a course with him like 3 years ago, which was so wild. I'm like, "Do you remember me?" He's like, "Yeah." And, you know, he's in a long-term relationship now and he's like super happy. So it's all good. Oh, yeah. My point is just like, there's no point in lying about like what you look like or something going on with you that's going to be like visible when they meet you, because they're going to have already made their decision. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to have. You're not going to have tricked them into loving you enough for them not to notice that thing. Okay, cerebral palsy. That's what he had. Cerebral palsy. So basically, half of his body was like paralyzed, and he'd have to like drag half of his body as he walked. Cerebral palsy. Just wanted to clarify. There is that disconnect between having not met someone yet. You know what I mean? Like, you could talk to someone for like a year. Like, basically, I had a friend say this to me once. You could be talking to someone for a really long time. But us as women, for the most part, know kind of right away if we're into someone or not. So you could be talking to someone for like a long time and then meet them and basically be like, "Oh, no, like I'm not into it." Whether it's looks wise or just like a vibe, like whether you feel that connections, those butterflies, whatever. And then you sort of feel like all that time was wasted when you were just talking, which is why a lot of people who online date prefer to just meet up initially, because they don't see the point in talking, because they feel like I'll feel it or I don't, right? And so that's why, again, I just feel like there's no point in lying about who you are or what you look like or anything in that regard, because people are just going to make a decision about you when they meet you. Okay, so all of that to say, Burkan says to his friends that he opened up a couple of businesses which failed, and Laura doesn't know how much he's actually struggling financially, but he wants to tell her in person. Yeah, I mean, there's always something on these shows where they feel that they have to tell them something and they haven't told them yet. He wants, you know, he doesn't seem like a scammer. Like, he doesn't. Like, I'm not getting that vibe. But at the same time, it's like interesting. And as we go on talking about the rest of these couples, it's interesting that they all end up having all of these financial struggles at the same time, that they end up talking to these American women. Like, what are the odds of that, right? So he talks about how he doesn't trust Michael, which makes sense. And he says that he doesn't know if their relationship, like his relationship with Laura, he doesn't know if it's going to work out if he doesn't cut Michael out of her life. So it's understandable, right? Especially like if they're going to be spending a lot of time apart. But like, I'm very curious to see how this is going to work now, because now that I see how mature he is, I question whether this could actually work. Like, I never thought it for a second. I really, really thought this was going to be the story of Laura and Michael, but I don't know. We'll see. I mean, we did see in the previews at the very beginning that Michael does end up showing up to Turkey, so we'll see what happens there. But like, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see what happens with Laura and Beer Camp. But yeah, I'm cheering on Laura just because she seems like such a sweetheart and like a nice person, and I want the best for her. Oh, love her. Love. Okay. So now we have our new baby girl Lisa, okay? And this is what I'm going to call her. Now, obviously, we've had a previous baby girl Lisa, but the fact that her name is Lisa, I'm just going with it. We have seen the previews for this for a while. She was the one who was a lesbian for 21 years. And I know I keep saying the lesbian, which makes me sound like homophobic, which I'm not. I only kept saying it because I was so excited about her backstory, which I will explain right now. But okay, so this couple is Lisa, 52, from Pennsylvania, and Daniel, 39, from Nigeria. So Lisa lives with her daughter, Faith. We don't have her daughter's age, but she looks pretty young. Or sorry, not young. Like they look like they're not too far apart in age, her and her daughter. Lisa's thing is that she says that she's never used a condom before because she's married every guy that she's dated. And I was like, wait, what? What? Okay. Something you guys should know about me, and you may hate this about me, so you may want to turn this off. I am a huge proponent of condoms and safe sex, okay? And there is just like this weird mentality that a lot of people have when it comes to safe sex. I don't know, it just comes from like this. I feel like maybe we don't learn enough about it in school to have like a true understanding. Like, what I feel like most people do is like use condoms with someone when they first start dating and then they decide that they're official and then like condoms come off and it's like, but but when did they get tested, right? Like there's no point in time. Just because you decide that you're official now doesn't mean that that person doesn't have a disease. And I'm not saying that people are out there like knowingly spreading disease. They're not. I mean, there's so many out there like herpes, for example, where you don't even know. So it's not like men are looking down at their dicks and being like, "Oh, there are sores all over my dick. Let's have sex anyways." No, that's not happening. But people are having sex without condoms, and that's how diseases are spreading, you guys. Like that's how it's spreading. And it's not spreading from like these one or two, well, not one or two, whoever is out there just like having sex with people that they don't know. It's also the people that are in relationships, because like I said, just because you start dating someone, you should probably be getting them tested. And if you're not, and then you're using condoms, but then later on decide, okay, let's not use condoms anymore because we're official, get them tested, because again, nothing has changed, right? Like nothing has changed. Just because you haven't seen any symptoms yet of anything doesn't mean someone doesn't have something, and they could very well likely not know about it. So this concept that she's never used a condom before because she's married every guy she dated, that's lucky. Like, what do you mean, right? Like you're becoming so susceptible to so much, and it's so crazy to me. So I will go to fucking bat for condoms and safe sex till the cows come home, and I will educate y'all till the cows come home because it's something that I'm very, very passionate about. So she explains that her first husband, she was just young and dumb, and it led to an annulment. Okay, cool. Husband two is Faith's father, and they just made better friends. All right. Husband three, she ended up leaving him because that's when she realized that she was a lesbian and she had then been with women for the past 21 years. Okay, fair enough, right? We hear about stuff like that all the time. And it kind of would even then make sense that maybe those husband relationships didn't work out because she was like, well, I keep trying to make it work with men and it's not working with men. Oh, it's because I was a lesbian, right? Then she had two more wives, but neither worked out. And we don't get any more on that, right? Because I thought it was sort of interesting, because if she decided that she was a lesbian, you would think that there may have even been a part of her, even for like a moment, where she was like, oh, am I a lesbian? Because I didn't make either of these like lesbian marriages work out, which doesn't mean anything, right? Like it doesn't mean you're not a lesbian just because you couldn't make your lesbian marriages work out. But you would think that that would be like part of her thinking. But it wasn't, because, Nigel, Daniel ended up reaching out to her on social media. She was, just minding her business, like she says. And he said something to her like God told him to talk to her and that he was meant to be with an older white woman. And she's like, you're just a scammer. Don't talk to me. But he was a smooth talker. And that was that, basically. So she wears this wig, which is just absolutely atrocious. It's like long with bangs. It's very obviously a wig. I mean, it's different from the Emma wig from Emma and Zied, who are Kardashian couple, where she's very clearly wearing like a long black, like crazy wig that almost looks like it weighs more than she does. She did just confirm online just a couple days ago that it is in fact a wig. But this wig is just, I don't know, she has like really short hair. And Daniel said that he likes the wig, so she wears it, but she finds it extremely itchy and uncomfortable. So I feel really bad for her. But she's clearly one of these people that just like really wants to make whoever's in her life happy, right? So she's like doing that for him. Faith really just worries about her mom because she's like, she just falls in love so quickly. And Faith has been to 15 different schools because they moved that many times because of her mom's relationships. That is nuts. Like, we're not talking about a military family here, right? We're talking about moving because of men or relationships, right? Like, that's so sad. That makes me so sad for her, right? Because it kind of reminds me of like Brittany and Olivia on The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, because, Olivia was constantly saying, like, Mom, I feel like you were putting relationships and men before me. And she was. And that's really feels like what Lisa was doing here for the entirety of Faith's life. And Faith is just like really wanting her mom to just like kind of get it together in that regard. So then we get this really insane scene that I could not believe that we got. And I'm obsessed of Lisa going to the store to buy condoms for the very first time. Okay. Now, the reason that she is going is because she's allergic to latex and she's worried that they won't have that in Nigeria. But she's also like just crazy nervous because she hasn't like lay with a man in 21 years. She's also worried about the cleanup afterwards because of all the, walking to the bathroom with your legs tied together because you've got like all the dripping. Use a condom. Use a condom. Like, are you kidding me? So she's like, girls don't have that, right? So I don't have, like, I'm not used to that problem in so long. Yeah, because every man you slept with, you didn't use a condom. So if you used a condom, it would capture all of that. I'm just saying. This is so disgusting, and I cannot believe they put this in here, but I am living. And that is why 90 Day Fiance is just so fucking good. So she asked this poor, like, young guy at the store to help her, and she starts to get, like, so nervous, and she kind of, like, cries, okay? And so, she's asking, like, do these thin ones feel better? Does it feel like less plasticky? And he's like, yeah, that's right. And she's like, I'm sorry. I'm nervous. I'm sorry. And I'm like, oh my God. Can you imagine being this clerk, right? This kid is like 24 fucking years old. Lisa is like a middle-aged woman. She's probably got 3 camera people around her and a boom mic. He probably thinks this is like a prank show, but at the same time, this woman is crying. Oh my God, I can't. This show, guys, I will never stop saying how good this show is because it just fucking is. So Lisa also talks about how she's worried about telling Daniel that she used to be a lesbian. So she kind of tried to test the waters by telling Daniel that she had had like this fling with a woman once. And he was like, oh, that's disgusting. God would not be happy with that. So she's scared to tell him about her past. I don't really know why she like has to. I guess if you're in a serious relationship with someone, it would be weird not to tell them, your relationship history. But if they're going to be together forever, it doesn't seem like something that's like mandatory. But I guess it would come up, right? If he's living in America with her, it's going to come up. They're going to run into people that they know. Yeah, I guess it would come up. So it seems like he's very religious in that regard. And she's worried that this will be a problem. And, in very 90 Day Fiance trope ways, they are giving us something where she has to tell him something that she hasn't told him yet, right? Which happens in every single one of these shows. So we had the scene of Lisa going to dinner with her daughter and her friend. And Faith says that, this is like a typical romance scam, obviously, where they, no offense, go for an older, vulnerable woman who has sent him money. And Lisa's like, do I look like someone who's like old and vulnerable? And it's like, yes. Honey, have some insight, have some introspection, right? But yeah, like she's sending him money and that's what it is, right? Like we said with the other guy, it's like, so all of a sudden at this period of time, you now need money. And she doesn't have any is the thing. Like every one of these guys that we see on these shows who are scamming, right? The ones that are, they're scamming women who don't have any money. They're picking these like, they think that everyone in America is rich and they're not. And they're picking these women who are from just like middle America somewhere. And, Lisa's in debt. She's living paycheck to paycheck, but she's sending him money every 2 weeks because he doesn't make very much. So basically her friend that they're at dinner with right now is the one who's lending Lisa money for her to give to Daniel. She says that he has straight up come out and asked her for money 2 or 3 times, but she says that she wants to give him the money because it makes her feel better that he's taken care of. And her daughter's like, well, how did he do it before you? Like, how was he living before you? Right. She's like, well, now he's sick from like malaria. And her daughter's like, but you're in so much debt and like you've asked your friend for money to help and like, it's interesting that now he's like getting sick like at this exact time that like he knows you, right? And exactly what I'm saying, right? Like all of a sudden you're having all these sicknesses. All of a sudden you're having financial problems at the time that you start talking to someone from America out of the blue and then you start asking people for money, right? I feel like if someone really loves you, if you really love someone, you don't ask them for money. I just believe that. Like it would be one thing if she was fully offering, but she's not. And I don't, I do think he's scamming her. I mean, we'll learn more about him later. He does seem different. I will say he definitely does seem different and not like a very obvious scammer from the get. But like, I don't know. So Lisa tells Faith that she will never put someone else before her and to please like give her the opportunity to prove this. She promises that she is no longer a toxic person. Okay. She said that like she used to be. And she says that she understands how Faith feels because Faith is like losing her mind right now. She even like leaves the restaurant. She's so upset. And Lisa understands because, when Faith was a child, they were moving around constantly. But she says that that's when she was trying to figure out who she was. But this is different because this is forever. But I'm sure she said that before, right? Just because you're older doesn't mean you're any wiser. It seems like you are making the same mistakes over and over again, which is a phrase that I particularly hate because somebody once said that about me and it's not true. Fuck you. But it's still like, I feel bad for her daughter, right? Like, I mean, it seems like her daughter can move out. She seems old enough to, so I don't know why she just doesn't. But it sort of reminds me of like Angela and Michael because of her daughters who were constantly like, Mom, like he's clearly scamming you, or anyone's family members, quite frankly, for any of these shows that are like, we don't trust this guy. We don't trust that this is like someone who's not scamming you. And I always really feel bad for the families, right? Okay, let's move on to Stig and Aviva. So Stig is the one from Belize. He is a Belize R&B superstar, and Aviva is 26 from Phoenix. So last we saw her, she was traveling over to Belize and she got like this disgusting Chinese food that I forgot to mention last time when I had Amy Archer on. So I'm going to mention it now. She, like mall Chinese food, right? Like not real Chinese food, like dirty. I call it like dirty Chinese food, which is my favorite kind, right? But it's the kind you get from the mall. And I wasn't, I'll fully admit, I was not paying full enough attention to like grab like where she got this because I'm confused as to how she got this on the plane. So Stig apparently is like obsessed with Chinese food. I hope it's mall Chinese food. And so she's like, okay, I'm going to bring him over some, but it wasn't like in a Tupperware or anything. It was in like a styrofoam container, which doesn't close, which stinks, which ended up spilling on her on the plane. And I'm like so confused because I'm just like, how did she get this on the plane? So did she buy this at the airport? Because wouldn't you have for you to like bring food on the plane, it would have to be the food that you brought after you did all your check-ins, right? So if not, that's disgusting. Also, how long is the flight to Belize, which I could Google? But if it's any more than an hour, which it is, it's disgusting. It needs to be refrigerated. Like this is so fucking gross. Like you can tell just from this circumstance that she is a child. You know what I mean? I feel like this set us up to have an understanding of who Aviva is as a person. Okay. So Aviva gets to Belize and she's worried about looking like a sweaty mess when she sees him. In Belize, we learn more about Stig and his life. We see him performing. It does look like a big audience, right? It looks like pretty full and packed. So I don't know. Like I haven't really looked up his stats to show like, how big he is in Belize, but he believes that he is a cool guy and performing makes him feel alive. But he says that the girls can get pretty wild at his show, right? Like apparently one tried to pull down his pants and he's like, whoa, whoa, ladies, please. So he put out his first song 10 years ago, and now he's at his highest level as an artist in Belize, and everyone knows who he is. The highest level as an artist. So what is that? What unit of measurement is that? Like the highest level, like on the Billboard charts, like on what? Did you win some sort of award? Guinness Book of, like I'm just confused, like who has ranked him and how this ranking works. So he says that he started talking to Aviva 2 years ago and they were both in a relationship, but then they were both out of their relationships. They started really liking each other. Now with Aviva, he just gets to be himself and he doesn't have to be like Stig, the artist. He doesn't have to be the performer. So we see this scene of him and his friends ask him if he wants American citizenship. And he's like, duh. I'm like, okay, what the hell? I mean, There was a moment there where like he introduces us, and I didn't catch his name because he's obviously not Stig, but like he says what his real name is. And he seems, I don't know, the way he's dressed, the way he's sitting, the way he's speaking, he seems actually kind of a nice together young man. I was like, oh, okay, maybe I was prejudging, right? Maybe I was prejudging Stig the artist. But then when he says like he wants the American citizenship, yeah, I mean, Aviva is not just the icing on the cake. Like, if you want the American citizenship, then you went looking for it. Because remember how they met, right? Like, she was in Belize, but she didn't meet him then. She was in Belize, I guess, visiting her aunt, who I'm way more interested in than Aviva and Stig, to be quite honest. And I wish they were doing like an aunt and niece duo for this. Because remember in the last episode, her aunt, Spring, says that she was married to someone in Belize and then she saw him on the news being arrested with some girl. And I want to know so much more about that, right? So she's in the process of getting a divorce, and she's the one who's like, has all these little spies all over Belize, and she's telling Aviva like all these rumors about Stig being with other girls and singing about other girls, yada, yada, yada. But Aviva's just like, no, they're just rumors. He just loves me. So his friends are like, how is Aviva going to feel when you bring her to shows and you've got like 100 girls jumping on you? And he says, Aviva says she isn't jealous. And his friends are like, okay, but like wherever we go, people are like, you have so many girls. So like, how's she going to react to that? And his friends are like, they don't really believe that he can control himself, mostly because all of his relationships have failed for this reason. So I guess every time he gets in a relationship, the girl gets really jealous over the fact that he has girls all over him. But, he says that he wants to be a faithful partner and he wants to have a family, but his friends say that they have 20% faith. We're seeing a very different side of how he describes himself versus how his friends describe him, right? Like I said, I thought he was like such a buttoned up together young gentleman when he was just being like his regular self and not Stig the artist. I was like, oh, okay, maybe he does want that. But his friends know him. They know who he is. Right? So I feel like he's just putting on a game for us, or he's putting on an act for us, but we're hearing the real truth from the friends. So the Chinese food, it comes with Aviva to the airport. Stig meets her at the airport with one singular rose, and Aviva goes to the bathroom first to freshen up. And she puts on an all red outfit, or it's a little bit more orange, but it's a lot more comfortable and appropriate than the one Emma was wearing, and even the one that Trish/Trisha was wearing. Okay, this is like almost like the Steve Jobs version of what Stassi Schroeder's bathing suit was in the crossover episode between Vanderpump Rules and Summer House, which I watched recently. So it's like orange, where it almost has like a collar but no sleeves, and then like kind of flared pants. But it seems like more like a tracksuit, right? She looks cute. She totally looks cute, and it's totally just way more appropriate than like what Emma was wearing. So then she ends up throwing away the disgusting Chinese food. So I'm like, then why did you bring it? Why did I have the bowl, Bart? Why did I have the bowl? Points to anyone who gets that reference. So I was just you came all the way over with this disgusting food. You spill it on yourself. You probably like make everyone on the plane sick with it, and then you fucking throw it away. I can't. So regarding sex, Aviva brought lingerie, but Stig, he says it like this: I don't want to push up on her right away. So he says he's going to kind of see what she wants. It's probably just his English, but I just didn't like the way he said, I don't want to push up on her right away. Ugh. So he does tell Aviva that his lifestyle is having girls around all the time. And, that could be something that could end them. And Aviva's like, I want to respect your lifestyle, but I also want to be respected. Now, this concept of girls being around him all the time being his lifestyle is confusing to me. Like, it's not part of his actual job, right? It doesn't have to be that way. Like, not every musical artist, like, I'm sure there's lots of R&B artists who are married, right? They don't have girls up on them all the time. I'm sure there's a way that people can deal with this. Like, I'm sure there's an appropriate way, right? So it seems a bit ridiculous that this is part of his, like, brand. Is that what he's saying? That it's part of my brand? I mean, maybe it's time for a brand shakeup. Maybe let's just say that, right? I don't know about these two. I mean, initially I had zero faith in them. He has moments where I'm like, okay, yeah, he seems like somebody who maybe wants a real thing. He's obviously very attracted to her. She's very attracted to him. Like, there's no issues there. But anyone who says that they're looking for American citizenship, I'm like, okay, bye. Boy, bye. Okay, let's move on to Forrest and Sheena. We didn't get much here because it was mostly just their travel and stuff like that. But like, Sheena's on her way to the airport. She explains that they've rented a place where they can all stay together, which I was just like, oh, I was hoping that Forrest and Sheena would be able to stay somewhere separately so they could have some alone time. But oh well. Molly loses her passport on the way, but then ends up finding it. This is just hilarious. Like, Molly and Dev do not know what they are doing in the airport. And like, it's so hilarious that Forrest has to be the one to sort of parent them on their way through travel. So Sheena and Forrest, when they actually get to each other at the airport, their meeting is so cute. Sheena is crying. Forrest sort of like slumps towards her, but almost in this cute, emotional way, right? Like, she was crying. He's so much taller. He hugs her and like towers over her. He tells her that he loves her. It was just so sweet. It really was. And Sheena and Molly hug, and Dev is even crying behind them, right? And you can tell that this is a man who does not cry often. And so, like, even with all the stuff that's going on between them, you can still tell that there's so much love because, you know, they've been in each other's lives for 7 years, which is a really long time. So Sheena says that she humbly apologizes for everything that has happened, and they are all family now, which was really, really sweet. And Molly thanks her for the apology. And I was sort of proud of Molly for like letting it all go enough to like get emotional and, you know, hug her. And it really did seem like there was love there. But she does say that there are some things that need to be figured out before they proceed, right? And yeah, Molly's definitely going to get involved and definitely going to get in there and asking about what happened with the money, right? I mean, we see that in the preview for next week. I don't want to talk about the previews for next week, but it's so hard. I was just, that's something like I almost never do, but then I find myself just like accidentally doing it anyways. Okay, let's move on to Rick and Trish. So they have boned twice. They are so attracted to each other. Things are going well in that regard. And Trish was actually impressed with Rick and his stamina, given his advanced age, right? Because he is 52 years old and she is 25. So they go meat shopping together, which Rick finds like disgusting. And he says that it ruined their sexy vibe that they had going on. And it's just like, dude, you can't just have sex all the time, right? He even says, like, I'd be good staying in bed all day. Great, but don't you want to get to know her outside of the bedroom, right? Like, you say you want to marry her, right? Like, I get that he's super attracted to her. Like, I get that. But it's also like, take it down, man. Take it down a notch. Like, get to know her, right? Like, he's saying things like, there's so much I didn't even know about her. Like, she's such a good dancer. Yeah, you wouldn't know that, though, if you continue to just hang out in the bedroom, right? Like, we get it. She's hot. You're hot. Your sex is great. But, like, you know, let's move beyond that. So Rick also asks her to explain what happened during that 5 days. So as we know, he is obsessed with the fact that there was this 5 day period recently where she sort of ghosted him. And he alludes to the fact that he has done something during that period of time, but then also says that he doesn't trust her because of this 5 day period. So to remind you, she didn't really ghost him because when you pick at it a bit more, he has said that like she was giving 1 word answers and stuff. So it wasn't like a full ghost. And she apparently had already explained to him what happened, which was that her brother got in an accident. And so she was dealing with the police with that. And then her ex-boyfriend had accused her of like breaking into their home or like robbing them or something. And she was dealing with that. So he felt like she cheated. That was sort of what was going on in his head. And he did something bad in reverse. So we get to that in a second, but she tells him the real story. So it's basically what she had already said, but in more detail. She explains that her ex-boyfriend got robbed and blamed her for that. And she was nervous and upset. And then after he got robbed, her brother got into an accident and he hurt someone. So because he hurt someone, they had to like kind of go to the hospital, pay for whatever the victim had needed, like his food and his like medical care and something like paying amends to the police. And he said, well, why didn't you tell me this? Or like, why didn't I hear from you? Like, I thought you were with somebody else. And Trish says that she didn't want to talk to anyone because she was scared to tell all of her problems because she was worried he'd think she was a scammer or would judge her. But she admits that she was wrong and apologizes, right? And it's totally understandable what she's saying because she's like, my ex-boyfriend is accusing me of robbing his family out of nowhere. What? Also, my brother like got in a hit and run and he's guilty and we're dealing with the police. So it makes her sound like some shady shit is going on, right? So she was worried about telling him that, which is completely understandable. And it would have been nice if Rick had just, you know, really talked to her about this before doing what he did. Because here's what Rick fucking did. I swear to God, you guys, this was for 5 days. He has said that he wants to marry this woman. She's the love of his life, yada, yada, yada. But because she didn't talk to him full time for 5 days, okay? It wasn't a full ghost because she was giving one word answers. Because she wasn't talking to him in a good enough capacity for 5 days, he does the following. He starts talking to his ex from Colombia. Okay, so he's done this 90-day fiance thing before, who invited him to come down to Colombia. So he booked a trip and he ended up spending time with her. And then, even though Trish started talking to him again, he felt in his heart that she had cheated. So, he went to Colombia anyway, and he stayed with his ex for a week, and they had sex all the time. And he's scared that she won't be able to trust him or forgive him. Dude, it was 5 days. Are you kidding? Of course she's not going to be able to trust you, because look what happens when, you don't have her full attention for 5 days. You go through all of that. And then even when she comes back to you, you're like, I'm going to go anyways. And I'm so confused about where he told Trish he was during this period of time. Was he still talking to Trish full time, or was he sort of giving her one word answers or ghosting? What about when he was on the plane to Colombia? How long of a flight was that? Was she able to get a hold of him then? Right? What the hell? It just shows that you can not trust this guy with a 10-foot pole. It's wild to me. It's absolutely wild. For 5 days, she doesn't ghost you, but just doesn't talk to you as much as you would like. You feel so fucking butthurt. Not only did you just call up someone in your little black book down the street. No. You book a flight. You book a hotel. You book a fucking relationship for a week. And you even had time to change your mind, right? Because Trish started talking to you again. But no. You went ahead and decided to full on meet up with someone in another fucking country for a week and have a full on relationship with her. Of course she's not going to trust you. Of course. I'm just wondering why he has to tell her this. And because he's acting like he absolutely has to tell her. And I don't know if this is someone that was in his life for a long time. So again, it might come up, right? If Trish were to come into the US, would family be like, oh, so-and-so, right? Because that's somebody who was in his life a lot. I really don't know. But dude, you are not trustworthy. Look at the two of you here. What he did here, here's what happened. And men do this sometimes where they're they think that you've done the thing that they would do, right? So even though Trish did not do that, did not cheat on him, because he would do that, he's assuming that that's what she was doing, right? Not everyone's you, Rick, okay? God, this is so awful and not going anywhere. But I had this thought that I wanted to mention just off the cuff and kind of completely unrelated to anything. But you know how Rick makes that fake hair and that wigs and stuff? So he lives in LA and Emma lives in LA and Emma wears that super heavy Kardashian looking wig. I think maybe they could do some work together, right? I feel like they could do some brand deals. Maybe even they could get together. They both seem extremely vapid. So maybe that's a better pairing for this show. Just a thought. Okay, you guys, that is the end of the episode for today. I will see my Patreon babies tomorrow at patreon.com/the Bravo Investigator podcast. I will see the rest of you on Thursday for last week's Southern Charm and Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And then I'll see you on Friday for Be True Hollywood Story, Kyle Cook. Follow me on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and now my new Facebook group at the Bravo Investigator. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, which I have linked in the show notes. Anything else? I think that's it. All right. I love you, BBs. I will see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Bravo Investigator podcast. For more content, head over to patreon.com/the Bravo Investigator podcast. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at the Bravo Investigator. If you enjoyed the show, leave a 5-star review. Love you, BBs. See you next time.